Right, well, good evening, everyone. I'm Jason Brooks, like I said, and I'm the director for the Governor's School for the Arts. Thank you for joining us this evening. If you can hear me, put a thumbs up or say yes in the chat for me. We just want to make sure that everyone can hear me and that we are good to go on my end. Amazing, amazing, amazing. In addition to that, I'm actually going to start a what we call a quick poll to see who's in the room. Now, granted, this first survey, we call it a GSA 101. You probably have already attended that. And if not, wonderful. You are here for the instrumental music webinar. Just go ahead and put instrumental music on the first part of the survey so we can see how many folks. And then fill out the second question as well that says either you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, teacher, counselor, educator, parent, or guardian. So let's see what this poll is actually going to do for us and see what type of responses we have coming in. All right, obviously we're all I am instrumental music people, which is phenomenal. Hey, it looks like we have quite a few sophomores and juniors. Sophomores and juniors, all right. And it's an even split as of the current moment. Great. And I see that we have a few parents and guardians on there as well. So thank you for joining us and investing in the Governor's School for the Arts. We are currently in the process of waiting for our adjudicator slash artistic consultant for instrumental music. He's attempting to get on, and we all know how much technology loves us in the throes of doing something highly important. And so once he gets us figured out on his end, he'll join us towards the middle or the end of this particular webinar. So thank you all for joining us, and please feel free to hold any questions within the chat or within the Q&A component. I will do my best to try to get to those throughout this talk and this webinar happening. So with a art form specific webinar, what happens is that we're going to give you really just the core components and the meat of what a GSA 101 webinar is, but then we're going to spend a little bit more time on the actual applicant guide for instrumental music. So you know exactly what to do within the applicant guide while you're filling it out. And then as you're about to hit submit for your actual application that's due January 18th, you'll be good to go. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. So if you haven't seen a GSA 101 webinar already, this is myself, the director. I've had the privilege of being with the organization, the Governor's School for the Arts, for the last 2 years. And then this is the rest of what I call the dream team. Jessica Graham, our program manager, Natalie Isert, the program coordinator, and Samantha Wren Durstock, our alumni coordinator. They're the ones that actually make this ship and the wheels turn in a way that's just phenomenal that I couldn't do by myself. And so, GSA, we are a community of artists empowering Kentucky's next generation of creative leaders. And so, if you haven't seen a GSA 101 webinar, this is a 3 week, 21-day intensive experience for rising sophomores and juniors. Students live on the college campus, which we will be hosted at Northern Kentucky University. It's a conservatory style training. And so, you're going to actually get what it feels like to be in the throes of a music program for 21 days straight consistently. So, for this upcoming 2026 year, obviously you already know you're here for instrumental music, but we are adding a brand new art form as well, graphic design. So if you have any friends who are interested in graphic design, have them jump on our graphic design art form webinar this upcoming Wednesday, 2 days from now at 5 o'clock p.m. Have them register and we can get to it. All right. And I'm going to actually move forward through a few of these slides. So, as we're kind of starting to talk about GSA in and of itself, you can get all of your information from the applicant guide all the way to what's happening amongst the process of your application, and then also how to fill out the applicant guide as well at our website on www.kentuckygsa.org. In addition, we're always telling our young artists, Please, please, please read the applicant guide word by word, letter by letter, because all of the information and literally all of the answers that you are looking for your particular, in this case, instrument, what you need to provide for your application is right there in the applicant guide. It is tried and true. We have had multiple professionals, especially our artistic consultant, take a look at this, and it is technically the book of knowledge for all art forms. And then attend an art form specific webinar. That's what you're currently doing. So congratulations. So quick items of note. We do not take GPA, ACT, or SAT. It is not required to attend or apply to the Governing School for the Arts. We cannot gauge your passion and your drive and your grit through GPA, ACT, and SAT as it deals with an art form. So you can't win if you're not in. So please apply. You can apply up to two art forms. So for instrumental music, if you are a saxophonist, and a clarinet player, you can apply up to both. You can apply to both instruments, but that will be two applications. We do have what we call an application fee of $35 for, let's say, the saxophone, like my guy on the wall, and it would be an additional $15 for the clarinet application. But there is a small box towards the end of the applicant guide that says if you are eligible for free or reduced school lunch, or if your school is a Title I school and the whole school is getting free lunch, please feel free to click the box and it will automatically waive all of the application fees. We do not want any type of barrier for you to be able to apply. If you are in financial constraints, and the 35 and the $15 are just too much for you, go ahead and click the box anyways. We're doing this by the honor code. And so we want to make sure that you apply regardless of the fees. But if you do have the capabilities, we do ask that you please use the honor system and pay the $35 or in the additional $15 if you could. We're checking the chat just to make sure we don't have any questions so far. And none in the Q&A. Okay, I will keep going. All right, so our application process, and all of this is in the applicant guide as well, which we will get to here in a hot second, is a two-step process. So we will work our way through the applicant guide on exactly what you need to do to upload to Accepted, which is our online platform, which we'll get to in a hot second. The very first step, you fill out everything that you need for the applicant guide for the preliminary round. Round one, it's all virtual. You'll submit that, and then literally by the time you submit it by January the 18th, you'll find out by February, I believe, 14th or 13th. It's a Friday, where you'll find out whether or not you made it to be a finalist to go on to the final round or the second round, the final auditions. The second and final round auditions and reviews is a hybrid approach. So if you are a performing arts like dance, drama, instrumental music in particular, um, musical theater, you will actually be in person at Northern Kentucky University on March 13th and 14th to do a in-person um, interview, final audition, and review. If you are more of a visual art like graphic design, architecture and design, any of those other particular art forms, then you'll be virtual. So, for many of you already know, the application has already opened. It opened on October the 10th. And so, applicant guides are available at KentuckyGSA.org. And then also, the deadline for all of this material to be submitted, just so that you can be eligible for round one, is January the 18th. We need you to start and go ahead and open up your application on accepted. You don't have to hit submit. You can save your materials and come back to it. But if you go ahead and start now, you can start uploading things gradually throughout this process. What we've realized is that over the years is that we'll always get about close to about 200, maybe a little bit over 200 folks who wait until the last second to actually upload all of their material, and it either overloads the website or they did not read the applicant guide in enough time to make sure that, one second, to make sure that they have everything they need to be able to submit. And guess what? We have a special guest right here, and I will let him get situated and set up real quick, and I'll keep on talking. Um, so accepted, ACCEPTD. There's no E at the end. That's intentional. That's the name of the online platform that you will have to submit all of your materials to. It's a phenomenal website, easy going, and there's an actual video on how to work your way through accepted. It is on, um, it is actually on the website as well. One second, I think I need to unmute my friend here, and we'll go from there. One second. Hey, Rich, I'm asking to unmute you, but I think are you able to unmute from your side?
Yes, I just did.
All right, everyone, this is my friend. He is what I would consider one of the cornerstones and pillars of the Governor's School of the Arts Foundation. He has been with GSA for, Rich, do you mind if I say it? And I may be a year or
Oh
two.
yeah.
He has been with the Governor's School for the Arts for at least 38 years.
Yes, I think this is my 38th year.
All right, we are excited to have Dr. Byrd, Rich Byrd, with us. He is one of not only our artistic consultant, but he is also our one of our adjudicators for the instrumental music area, and he is our chair for instrumental music. So everything that we're going to talk about this evening, this is the guy for you all to really be asking the questions on, exactly on what do we need to do, even if there's additional questions outside of the applicant guide. He's the guy to go to and ask the questions now for. So, Dr. Bird, I will actually finish up these last few points and then we can kind of jump into the actual applicant guide in and of itself.
Okay, sounds good.
Amazing. All right. So within the applicant guide, you will also need at least two recommendation forms. And so within these recommendation forms, make sure that you actually get the email address of your recommender. It does not have to be a music teacher or an instructor, probably preferred, right? Instrumental music, and you have somebody who's hearing you play, could be a band director, could be an orchestra director, a percussion instructor. Phenomenal, great. But it can also be somebody who can talk directly to your character, right? Who can talk to, are you a great citizen? Are you a great global? Are you global citizen? Are you able to um, do you have what it takes to really have that grit and drive and perseverance to really make it through this program in 21 days? And to be honest, it's not hard at all, but they want to make sure that you're teachable, right? They want to make sure that you're going to be in an environment that's not only going to be great for you, but you great for it as well. You'll have two opportunities to send out recommenders. So let your recommenders know, hey, I need your email address. And now I'm going to put their email address in the accepted system, and they will send them an actual accepted message. They'll have to go online, fill it out. Wonderful, submit. Um, One thing that we get every year come January is, oh, one of my recommenders hasn't filled out the form. We can go back in, or you can go back in and hit submit again. It will go ahead and resend it back to them for them to remind them to send it up. If you do not have two recommendation forms and you only have one, it does not take you out of the running to be accepted into GSA. That recommendation forms just helps our adjudicators get to know you better from an instructional standpoint, from instruction to teacher or from mentor to student, right? So. Also within your application, in the applicant guide, we're going to talk a little bit about the essay prompts and questions, and then obviously the artistic samples, which all instrumentalists are really thinking about. What scales do I need to do? You know, what type of equipment do I need to have? What's going on, right? And so we'll get to that here in one second. All right. Like I mentioned, we will be at Northern Kentucky University. So all instrumentalists, make sure that you got your running shoes together because we will be hitting up wherever you're coming from all over the state. We will be heading directly to NKU, Northern Kentucky, for your in-person interviews if you make it past the preliminary round onto the final review and final auditions. And that particular dates again is March 13th and 14th. But the actual session for GSA this upcoming year in 2026 is June 7th through the 27th. Right. And at this point, we've talked about the webinar dates. If you would like to gain a little bit more information about the ins and outs of GSA, please make sure that you register for one of the upcoming GSA 101 webinars, which is a little bit more in depth, a little bit more detailed. There is one on November the 10th 5 o'clock p.m., and one on December the 3rd at 5 o'clock p.m., a Monday and a Wednesday. So this isn't your only opportunity just to hear about instrumental music, but if you want to hear more about the ins and outs of GSA and the residential life side and what GSA is at its core, who we are, those are the GSA 101 webinars. If you're not able to make those two particular webinars, go back to our website, KentuckyGSA.org, and we actually have recordings of the first two GSA webinars. So you're able to go back, hit start and stop as you please, and everything will be to your fingertips as you need it. All right, so right now we're going to go ahead and stop this particular presentation, and we're going to actually open up and take a look at this applicant guide real quick. Dr. Byrd, would you like to introduce yourself? I know I already kind of gave you a quick what I would consider formal introduction, but please feel free to add any or take anything away from what I've already provided for you.
I think it's pretty good what you said. Like I said, I've been with this program almost since the very beginning, and I've seen lots of changes and lots of things go on the way. So if anybody has any questions today, this would be a good time to ask because I've done these auditions for many, many, many years. And so I know exactly what not just myself, but the other adjudicators are looking for in instrumental music. And besides GSA, I don't know if you mentioned this, but I teach music theory at Eastern Kentucky University, and I am a freelance trumpet player around the Central Kentucky area. So I'm definitely involved in the performing aspect of things, gigging and stuff like that, as well as teaching and adjudicating. And I compose music. I've got a whole bunch of music that I've written as well, and a lot of those we do at GSA. And then, of course, working at GSA and then teaching at EKA.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. He is the man with the plan. He knows exactly what's happening behind the scenes as it deals with instrumental music. So, Dr. Bird, I will go ahead and kind of start this the beginning process, and then I'll kind of actually I'll be your hands for you, but
Sure.
I'll let you go ahead and do quite a bit of talking as we kind of start to get into the actual preliminary requirements going into final round.
Okay.
Okay, sounds great. So this is the instrumental music applicant guide that you all can find online at KentuckyGSA.org. Please make sure you read it. We spent a lot of time putting this together, so you have everything at your fingertips. So please make sure you check this out. So if you see a young artist with a tuba sitting on a bench, you're in the right place.
Mhm.
All right, we go into page 2, which is our table of contents. And we're going to talk a little bit about program description, preliminary round application requirements, and final round requirements. All of this stuff is important. So, like we said, the GSA's instrumental music program is structured to introduce a broad spectrum of musical styles and philosophies, developing students' fundamental musicianship. Students are provided with a unique range of musical experiences not typically available to high school students. So, if you have gone on to, I'm originally from Kansas, and so I think you all call it state. Is that correct, Dr. Bird? Or
What do you mean
KMEA,
constant? Oh, yeah.
KMEA, this
KMEA.
experience is going to be completely different to a degree than that. It's
Yeah.
not going to be large ensembles.
Right.
And
If
Dr.
you've done
Bird can kind of
Allstate
give you,
before, yeah, if you've done Allstate before, then you probably are used to auditioning and being placed in one of the bands or even orchestra or even jazz band. And that's where you spend every day rehearsing pretty much the same, those concert, those pieces that are programmed for that concert. And this is, we'll talk about later, is quite different from that because it's not large ensemble. GSA is all small ensemble. Everything is chamber music.
Yes. All right, so let's go ahead and start talking about preliminary round application requirements. So regardless of the art form, every single art form, every single applicant has to have what we call your two recommendation forms, which we talked about earlier, right? Your personal short essay, which we'll get into a little bit here in a minute. There will be a personal question video as well. In addition, there will be art form specific questions, which we'll get to. And then there will be obviously scales and rudiment videos for percussions that obviously we all have to do. One thing that a lot of folks don't realize is that, yes, I am an instrumentalist myself. I was actually a saxophonist for about 8 years before I switched to French horn or horn. I have a bachelor's and master's in horn, so I'm a brass player and a woodwind player secondarily now. So having those scales under your fingers is highly important, right? So we talked about the two recommendation forms. So we need you to identify two people who will complete recommendation forms in support of your GSA application. Previously, GSA application cycles have required recommendations from a teacher or a school administrator, but you don't necessarily have to have it from either one, right? We just need somebody to talk to your character and preferably somebody who can talk to your skill, right? The recommendation forms includes questions about your artistic ability and potential, how you contribute to your learning environment, community, and your overall fit for GSA. If you can select two recommenders who can speak to your artistic ability, we encourage you to do so. However, we understand not every applicant will have one or two recommenders who have experienced the student's artistry. In this case, select recommenders who can speak to your character, accountability, and or your work ethic. Recommenders can be teachers from inside or outside of your school or in your subject. School administrators like guidance counselors, mentors, or other people involved in your personal or artistic development, such as a coach. I said, Dr. Byrd, can you kind of give us some insight on how important it is to have strong recommendation letters? And even if they can't get two people to speak to their skill set, it's at least important to at least try to get one.
Yes, I want to say this first, at least speaking for myself and my other fellow instrumental music adjudicators. Please understand that we do read these evaluations. A lot of times, students and even mentors or the parents or the teachers say, well, this is just a formality. We have to send it in, but nobody's really reading those. And we do. That's part of the whole adjudication process package. So those people that you select, you need to strategically select people that, uh, just like he read to you and just like you read in the audition pamphlet, preferably somebody who has seen and worked with you on your in your art form. That's ideal. If you can't get two people, at least one person. Somehow there's got to be one person, even a private teacher, a band director, or
Right.
somebody who has seen you do your art form. And we need to hear from that person about if you're a French horn player, how are you in playing French horn in the ensemble, that type of thing. And then if you don't have two people, because some people may not be in an ensemble at all, maybe some people are homeschooled, maybe they just have a piano instructor and they've never played any ensembles at all. Then the second one at least could be somebody who you know that could talk to us about your character and how devoted you are to anything, how responsible you are, and how dedicated you are, that type of
Right.
thing. So we got an understanding of that. But if possible, if at all possible, definitely have two people who can address your art form and that they've witnessed and heard something, not just read a resume and tell us that in reading a resume, because we can do that as well. But if somebody has firsthand experience working with you, listening to you, or something like that, that's going to be your best advantage for these recommendation letters. And again, I can't stress enough, we do read those and make notes about them. We do take those into consideration because they talk about not only your strengths and weaknesses and everything, but a lot of times it's with great detail and it gives us lots of insight into you as a musician and you as a person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have a question that says, where would you send the recommender's email? So here's the answer to that. You will enter the names and email addresses of each recommender in your online application, and those individuals will receive an email instructing them on how to complete the recommendation form, which will take about 10 minutes. It's not long at all. Inform them, your recommenders, that you are applying for GSA and would like to list them as a recommender. Tell them they will complete a short form via email and that the response are confidential, so you won't have access to them. And ask if they have any questions about GSA and or your desire to apply. Make sure that you're confirming your email address with them because sometimes we'll, finger slip or we'll forget a period or we'll forget a letter and it will go to somebody completely different and your recommender won't get it. So make sure that the email that you have of your recommender is accurate. Um, so submit your recommender's information as soon as possible. What we've seen on the GSA administration side is that folks will send the recommenders an email through the online application portal. Their recommenders don't know, and it will sit in their junk mail for like 8 weeks. And you don't want that. We want you to be able to get that information in as soon as possible. So please make sure that you're letting your recommenders know that a recommendation email from accepted, it will say the email will come from do/not reply at getaccepted.com, entitled documentation request from said student name for Kentucky's Governor's School for the Arts. Ask them to confirm with you when they have submitted the form. So um, that keeps you in the know on exactly when and where they are in the process of finishing up their recommendation letter. Okay. All right. I don't see any additional questions about the recommendation letter, so I'm going to keep on going for time's sake. So here it is. We're going to start talking a little bit about the personal short essay. So you're going to be required to provide a 250 word max. So provide an answer for the following questions in your essay. How can/why should the art form you are applying in be of importance to your community or society as a whole? Provide an answer that is specific to the art form you are applying for. Be honest. Be open, be authentic in your response. If there's anything that our adjudicators really want to see, is that they want to see you in the material, whether it's written, whether it's in your playing, or whether it's through your interview video responses in and of itself. So please be as authentic and as honest as possible. Upload this essay response as a document file. So, um, anything in particular, or quirks that you would say, Dr. Byrd, that comes with this particular component as it deals with personal short essays?
Yes, this is really important for everybody to understand. I know people read this and they kind of see this stuff and and you probably have other people in your ears telling you you need to have this grammatically great and really write a great essay like you're in school. And it's not that I advocate you not taking it seriously and considering and putting your thoughts together, but this is not an English essay competition. And please understand that. We when we say be open and honest and we want to see the real you, um, we want you to speak, from your heart and what's meaningful to you, not what you strategically think we want to hear and come up with some AI, um, scripted kind of speech where it doesn't sound like anybody, like it's definitely not you at all. So, the thing that you write down, your written one, and especially your video question needs to really reflect you. So just think about the answer you want to say. Think about you as a person. Think about how you want to say it, not how your teachers want to say it, not how AI would phrase it, not how your mom and dad would say it. We want to hear from you from the heart because, like I said, it is not an English essay competition. It's not a drama competition where we can see how eloquent you speak or anything like that. It is nothing like that. So we just really need an answer from you that is very sincere and something that is really reflecting you. This is not, like I said, again, not grading on grammar. If you said a few too many extra times, if you use some English not correct, that's okay because we're looking to see you just answering the question in the most honest and realistic way possible.
Wonderful. And he already answered the same question for the personal question video. It needs to be 90 seconds max, but be honest, be open, be authentic in your response. Um, and we can go ahead and go on to the art form specific questions. Applicants will be asked questions about their specific interest in the art form and their level of access to training, classes, and lessons in their art. Applicants can review the specific questions for their art form once they have submitted the recommendation form. Anything that you have in particular about that?
No, it's just that you want to make sure that you answer everything as complete as possible. It's not something that one gets an advantage over the other, because when you look at these questions, that's why it says no right or wrong, because somebody says, well, I don't have as much to write down as somebody else, and so now I don't have the advantage that they do, and it's not true.
Right.
You just need to write down what you have, what you know, and it's just information for us. It's and then sometimes we use that and look it over and talk to each other about it. But when if you make it to the final round, we might kind of follow up on it and ask you questions about it. But it's not a checklist box where it's like if you didn't check this or answer this, then you're not going to be considered because you don't have as many years of lessons as somebody else. We've taken lots, just to let you know, we've taken many students over the years who've never had a private lesson at all. And then sometimes people have had lessons for 9 or 10 years and you wouldn't know it. Just, just being honest as far as the audition. So
Mhm.
it's not necessarily, it does really help to take lessons. And if you haven't had lessons, it would be good to get with somebody, have another ear listen to you. And even if they're not your weekly teacher, it'd probably be good to do them. But it's not necessarily an advantage, but it does really help you. But, we've seen plenty of people who have the initiative on themselves to do lots of just looking up things online and listening to great players play and see how things work as far as the solo they're working on and what information they can get off the internet and end up with a bang up audition. And they've never had one lesson in their life. And I look at them, it's like not even one, and it's like pretty amazing. So it's like just because you think something that you answer gives you advantage over another, I wouldn't try and second guess that because mostly this is just information.
Yeah. Excellent. So here's what I think, at least for me, back when I was at the age of 15, 16, 17, like, okay, I can do all of the video essays and the questions, but what about these scales and rudiments and prepared solo videos? What can you tell us about that?
So I won't address the rudiments for percussion because they are very detailed. And just to let everyone know, if it hasn't been said already, we have gone over every one of these bullet points and words and sentences and everything every single year. I have personally over all these years. They show it to us for the previous years, and we look at it, we update it, we correct it, we add things to it. So everything in here we mean. And everything in here is to give you the most detail possible so that you know exactly what is expected of you. So it would take probably way too much time for right now just to go over in detail everything that a percussionist has to do rudiment wise. But if you read what we've written, and our percussion instructor has really gone over this, you know exactly what is expected of you. And it's the same thing with the scales. Just read the information about the scales, how they're to be played. There are exceptions for some instruments, brass, whatever, where you're allowed to only do a scale just 1 octave or 1.5 octave if the range is too hard. If you're kind of wondering about what's he talking about, just again read the application here, and it's very detailed with all the bullets on how the scales are to be played. It's a little different from piano, and how they're what exceptions there are, what keys they are, the order you're supposed to play them in. It talks about ascending and descending, just everything that's on there. If you could scroll down just a little bit, Jason.
I sure
Uh,
can.
as far as the eighth notes, the tempos, and the style that you're playing in, a tongue legato style, because these are all things we want to hear from a scale. If you just play it only slurring, we'd like to know how you articulate. So that's why it says play it in a tongue legato style, not short and choppy. Um, and then everything is in your key, not concert pitch, don't transpose. So if I said E flat, it's not concert E flat, it's your clarinet E flat, your saxophone E flat, your trumpet E flat, your horn E flat scale, your instrument. If you have to, ask someone what that means, because sometimes people are so ingrained, they only respond to the
Mhm.
word concert. And so when they say, what do you mean by my E flat? And it depends on your instrument. If you're playing trumpet, your E flat is a concert D flat as in dog. And so it's your E flat as an egg. And so whatever it is, your instrument, your pitch, that's what we're looking for. So these are not concert pitches. These are for yours. And if you play a concert pitch, then it is yours. And then it says 2 octaves and play them at the tempo of 120 to the quarter note. You can play them faster, but they all need to be the same. It says right there. They're allowed, but only if they're all played at the faster tempo. All the scales the same. Don't just play a few real fast and a few back tempo and a few real slow. If you play them a little slower than that, that's okay, but you need to try and you have time to work this up to 120 because that's we're kind of basing everybody off the same thing. Just to give you some tips on strategies for this, make sure you play these scales as painfully slowly as possible so that you ingrain in your muscle memory in your fingers uh, the correct pitches in the correct order so you don't make mistakes when you're going faster. So play them as slow as possible, super steady, super even with a metronome, with good tone, and very musical. And then you'll be able to work it up to the speed you need to. And it is important that not only, when we grade these scales, not that you just play the right notes, but that you, and do them in the order that we say to do it, but that you play these scales musically with a good sound and in time. I cannot express that enough. In time, usually they say 3 times, say it 3 times to know what you mean. So in
Right.
time, in time, in time. Practice it with a metronome. You cannot play your audition tape with a metronome clicking, but you certainly should practice it because you need to show us that you can play in time without a conductor because you're playing chamber music. While we coach you, we will not be conducting your pieces while we rehearse and especially on final day. So it's very important that you realize that you play these in time, not rushing, not dragging, not playing things fast because they're easy, not playing slowing some scales parts down because they're a little difficult. So start them all super slow so they're super accurate, and then you can build up to that tempo. But remember, they need to be played musically with a good sound in time.
Right. Awesome. So how about a little bit about the personal solo videos?
Yes, as you can see, you get to play a solo of your choice. And you must upload a PDF copy of it because while I know a lot of these solos, I'm listening to lots of different instruments and I don't have them all memorized. And so you need to submit that PDF copy of your solo. It's important. Sometimes people submit a recording and there's no music to look at. So make sure you submit that legible copy. And it says announce your name and piece. Part of the application process is for us to see that you guys can follow instructions. So when it says announce your name and your piece before you play it, you should do that because sometimes people don't do that. And then that kind of makes us wonder. They can't follow directions, they can't read. Somebody else is doing the application for them. So say your name, announce a piece, both composer and title, and then play your piece. And then strategically, I think we talked about later about what might be good for you because some people always ask, what solo should I play? What's the best strategy? And so, like I said, you can read later. We kind of get some strategies for you, but I'll tell you right now, you should play something that you do well. It seems obvious, but sometimes people and their teachers strategic said you should play this because it's a really hard college level piece and the judges will be impressed. Let me tell you right now, emphatically, we are never ever impressed with anything played poorly. So it doesn't matter how hard the piece is. If that's something you can't play well, nobody's impressed. So that is not true if someone is giving you that information. It is not impressive to play something poorly. So find something that you play well. Strategically, it's good to find something you love to play. So kind of work with a teacher, your private teacher, band director, whatever, finding things that are not only appropriate for you that show off your best things, but that you can play well. Hopefully something that you like, because it really comes through if you play something that maybe you play well, but you hate or you don't like it and don't enjoy it.
Right.
You're only doing it because somebody told you it was a good thing to play. So musically, that kind of shows. If you're really passionate, you like the music, then it'll come through. So find something you like, something you enjoy to play, and something that is something that you can play well. And if there is maybe one little lick or passage in there that you don't do exceptionally well, but it's not too bad. I wouldn't discount that whole piece just for a couple bars. But if you can't play it at all, then maybe you should, consider something else. But It takes a while and talk to some other people about it to strategically pick a piece that is a good audition piece and something that showcases all the things you do well. And we do look for things that are both technically and like lyrically, something that does both. If you play just an etude, and etudes are fine, and all it does is bum 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 bum, that's not enough information for us. It lets us know that you can play an eighth notes and 2/16 notes very well over the course of time, but you need something that has a little bit more depth to it. So find something that's, like I said, that's not only you do well, but something that's technical and shows off some of your rhythm and different rhythms that you can do, some of your articulation, and it's something that's lyrical and something that's like singing and something like that. And that shows a wide area of things for you. Then that gives us a good idea what you can do.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So Dr. Byrd has given us quite a bit of information and an overview for what's probably required for all woodwind, brass, strings, guitar. Please make sure that you're mindful of the video times on each one of those personal solo videos as well. And then obviously there's information here about the piano section as well for preliminary rounds itself. And then I believe Dr. Byrd has said that he's not going to be able to go through everything within the percussion component. So please make sure that you're reading line by line and exactly what they're asking of you for this preliminary round percussion. And now we are getting into final round requirements. And so there is obviously a pre-review questionnaire. All instruments will be due via accepted. So applicants who advance to the final round, so you will find out the Friday of February the 13th or 14th. I think it's the 13th. And I will correct myself here in a second while I figure this out. Real time.
Friday the
February
13th
February the
is
13th.
the Friday.
Applicants who advance to the final round, you'll find out on February the 13th, will be forwarded a new section of their application and accepted. And it's called Application Part 3. This new part of the application will include a short questionnaire. This questionnaire may cover a range of topics, including your previous experience in your art form, your favorite artist, and or your college and career goals. They want to kind of know, what do you plan on doing? Once you're into GSA, is this a career that you're really thinking about and that you're really wanting to go down towards? The questionnaire is not a quiz and it's not scored. They're literally looking forward to figuring out who you are as an artist, who you are as a person, and what you're bringing to the table. The questionnaire may be used to customize questions in your interview. So,
Exactly.
yeah. Review more details, requirements for your specific instrument. So, there's always a little bit more for the final round. Is there anything in particular, like an overview, that you would give our young artists and parents and teachers on what they should be planning for final round audition?
Yes, and this is the big one. Well, out of order, I'm going to start with the personal solo again because that's something you already submitted on the tape. And so you make it to the final round, and then you can read all this stuff again for each instrument about the personal solo. People ask the question, can I do the same piece of music? You can. But you should know that we're looking for improvement if you're going to play the same piece of music. If you just pull it out because you don't really have any time and you're not going to put any effort for it, that doesn't really do you well for an audition. So it might be strategically good for you to play something different to show again more depth, more things that you can do. It's more impressive to show that you can do that. And if you are going to play the same piece, while it's not counted against you, it's not going to be in your favor if you don't show any improvement. If it sounds the same or worse yet, it doesn't sound as good as it did on the audio on the recording. So that's the personal solo, and you can read about that as well. And then we may interrupt it during the audition. Might say, "Let's stop here. This looks very similar to what we did before. Let's jump to measure 21 or measure 85 or whatever it is." So just kind of be prepared for that. It does not need to be memorized unless it's piano. That's a different thing, different set of rules. Um, and then going back to the other new piece of the puzzle here is the prepared ensemble excerpt. And this is something everybody should really pay attention to because you are sent this ahead of time. And in instrumental music, we pick pieces that we typically have done in the past. These are actually pieces that we program and practice and rehearse and perform on final day. and we've done these for several years, and these rotate around as far as like which ones we pick every year. So it's important that you, even though you don't have as long to prepare this as you did your personal solo, because you may have months in working on your personal solo, and this one you only have a few weeks. It's important for you to make sure you pay attention and prepare that, I would say, as well as your personal solo, even though you have less time. Meaning just go for, make sure it's a complete and a well rehearsed and practiced piece of music. Because if you show up with a piece of music that we've given to you specifically, like they would at Allstate or something like that, and you don't play it very well, it shows that you may not be able to play a piece of music that we've given you 3 weeks on. And as far as your level of interest and time and devoted to something that we've given to you, it's kind of telling. So you should make sure that you prepare this as seriously as you do your personal solo, with us keeping in mind this is the piece of music that we typically do in the summer. So now we're envisioning you, can this person play it in this quintet with this piece of music that we probably will do this summer? And if you haven't prepared very well, the answer in our head is like, I'm not sure. So you want to make us positive sure that you're the person that you could do something like that. And then there's always the dreaded sight reading. And the only thing I can tell you about sight reading is that you will only get better at sight reading if you practice sight reading every day.
Reading.
Definitely. So it doesn't have to take a whole lot of your time. And, we're only going to give you a rhythmic sight reading. That's 15 seconds that you get to look at, and then you perform it. And then a melodic sight reading, which has both pitches and rhythms. The rhythm one just has a single line of rhythms like, dum, ba, 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 bum, ba, 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 like, we'll just see if you can actually just read rhythms without involving pitches. And then give you a piece of music, just like you would in Allstate or something else like that, where it's about 30 seconds long and you have 30 seconds to kind of look over and practice it. Now, this is something different. If you are listening to this, I really mean what I say on this. But when it says you have that time to practice it on the instrument, it means you get to play your instrument. Everybody's usually, they can't believe it when they tell them that at the auditions. So, like, mean I can play my instrument? And the answer is yes, because most auditions, when you do sight reading, you're not allowed to make a peep on your instrument. You can blow air through it and finger it, stuff like that, but you can't make a sound. So this is not like All-State audition sight reading. This is different. This is GSA sight reading audition where you actually get to practice. We'll pretend not to listen to you, but you can take 30 seconds and practice it on your instrument. But if you want to get better at sight reading, you should sight read every day, and you don't have to spend a ton of time doing it. So you might ask, is 5 minutes good enough? Yes, 5 minutes every day is wonderful for you. Uh, and if you even only had 2 or 3 minutes, it's better than 0 minutes. So
Correct.
everybody, the key is every day. If you just do it once or twice a week, you're probably not going to get too much better at sight reading. But if you do it every single day that you practice, you will improve. So that's one thing that you can do. And then the last thing is the interview. And this is different than other auditions and other organizations you might not apply for, because we actually talk to you and listen to you audition face to face. There's no screen, there's no curtain. We want to look and see and hear and talk to you, see you play, and then we want to talk to you in person, eye to eye. So there's I think, a tips thing later on, talks about different things that we might possibly ask you at the interview. But again, you just need to answer this very honestly and just and openly. And can you prepare for the interview? Yes, you can. Not necessarily script anything, but what you want to do is think about things that are important to you as far as you as a musician. Who do you like to listen to? What music do you like to listen to? Any people that impress you? Are you a fan of anybody? Any idols, any mentors, or anything like that? Pieces of music that you've heard, concerts you've gone to, just things that seem typical that you'd ask when you're just talking to your friends about what do you like about music and who do you like to listen to and that type of thing. And what interests you about music and how long have you been playing, and just kind of really get to know you about that. And what would you do if we give you certain situations? What would you do in this situation or something like that? You're playing chamber music with friends and with people you don't know. And how do you respond to people that are uh, you feel that are really significantly stronger than you or significantly weaker than you? We just kind of get an idea of just what you're like as a person and a musician. So the interview is just be thoughtful about the kinds of things that you do as a musician, and just think about those. And then it'll be a lot easier. You don't have to freak out about the interview, but just know everything is face to face because we want to know the real you.
Absolutely. We actually have a question that came up and it says, does the video for the preliminary round need to be recorded in one take?
Yes, for the preliminary round,
Yeah,
um, you have a scales video, correct? That's
correct.
submitted, and then a solo video that is submitted separately. So you don't do the scales and the solo all together because you have to upload them in different spots, if I understand that correctly.
I thought of it from the different perspective. So all of those requirements are different videos for the person who asked this question. I was thinking, do as many takes as possible to get the best
Oh, okay.
quality
Is that
of
what they're
output.
asking?
That's
How
how
many
I
shots of
perceived
film?
it.
Well,
So
that's
it
that's
just says
also true.
does the video for the preliminary round need to be recorded in one take? So I guess either way.
Well,
Um,
I think when they say one take, I think I'm thinking that they're probably thinking um, all in one, not spliced.
correct.
And but I don't consider it splicing when you do scales because you do your scales and submit it, and you do your solo and submit it.
Mhm.
But listen to this, this is very important. You cannot, and it says there, you cannot splice your scales. You cannot play C major one day and next day play D, and the next day play E flat and splice them all together. Do not do that. We can take the video, all the scales that you required, the number of scales that are required have to be played in one take. And just like Jason Brooks says, if you don't like that tape, that recording you just made, delete it and do another one. And you don't like that one, practice some more, I'd say, and then record it again. And if you don't like that, delete it and practice some more until you get the one you want. But you cannot splice the scales separately. You can't put G in one and A in another, and then we see that. So don't do that. And you should not splice your solo either. Like play the first 8 bars of your solo and then splice out and edit the bad note that you played or something like that. So if that's what you mean, I think it's what they're talking about. But certainly, like Jason said, you should record this as many times as necessary till you get the recording you want. So that's why you probably should start early rather than the night before, because then you'll be panicking and stressing out about submitting the best thing you can do when you're half asleep. So that gives you lots of ample opportunity to do that. And then let other people listen to your recording too and see what they think. Maybe they can give you tips on
Yeah,
maybe recording it better.
absolutely. So I went ahead and scrolled down to criteria and
Mhm.
tips
Ready?
for coming up. So tips for selecting your music. I think Dr. Bird has kind of already gone through that quite a bit, right?
Yes. Yes.
Demonstrating both technically and musically the best aspects of your playing.
Yeah.
Um, Tips for recording your application video, right? Avoid over practicing on that day that you record your audition, right? Allow plenty of time for yourself to warm up, tune your instrument, mentally go over your audition music, and collect your thoughts before you record your scales in solo. Please do not wait until the week before the deadline or even a few days, right? Give yourself at least a month, right? Start thinking about recording your videos and submitting your videos maybe mid-November, maybe December, right? And you get a good take, run with it, right? As a brass player, there's going to be some weeks that are just going to be phenomenal. The next week, who knows who knows what's going to happen, right? And so don't wait to the last minute. Get a great take. Allow your teachers or somebody else to hear it, like Dr. Bird said, and give you some critique on the stuff that you're actually planning on to upload. Um, and be ready to receive some feedback and then submit. So you're not waiting until the last minute and then all hair is on fire and we're trying to get you all together come January 18th. All right, additional tips. Dr. Bird, are there any particular um final thoughts as it deals with tips and final round criteria?
Yes. And this example will kind of lead to the big final tip that I'm going to say is sometimes applicants come in on the final round and they bring their instrument. They're all excited to play, and of course they were looking for them to follow all the criteria we set up, and we're looking for that music so that we can look at the music while they play. And then we've heard some people say, I didn't know I had to have music for you. So it says definitely you need to supply the judges. We don't need multiple copies, we just need one copy of your solo. We don't have everything memorized. And I kind of hate to stand over their shoulder and look at you play while you're doing it, but we have had a number of applicants every year come in and they don't have any music for us. So make sure you have music for us just like you did when you submitted the recording, you submitted a PDF of it so we can have the printed music. And just in that same manner, when you come in and live audition for us, make sure you have a physical hard copy of that piece of music so that we can look at that while you're playing your solo. So sometimes people overlook that, which goes to my last big tip. The reason why people overlook that is because they do not read the application guide thoroughly. You need to read it very, very carefully. A lot of times people say, yeah, yeah, I know, or whatever. And maybe just mom and dad or some teacher just told you this is what you need to do. There's so much in that application thing. There's so many things. It's so overwhelming. Just play a good solo, do this and do that, and then things are left off. And so some people, I don't want to end on a bad note here, but some people are disqualified because there are things they're not allowed to do, like splice together scales. And if they do that, that's not what we ask you to do, and it's not fair to the other applicants who've done that. And then other people, sometimes it says, when it says in there, you are not allowed to have a piano accompanist or any type of electronic accompaniment or recording accompaniment with your solo. And some people submitted their solos, and guess what? I see a recording of a person playing the piano, and sometimes they say, well, we just did this on a recital or something like that, and it was pretty recent, so we thought this would be good for you to hear. And it's like, well, it might be good in certain situations, but for us, we ask you not to have a piano accompanist. No one else is allowed to do that. It gives you an unfair advantage because other people are supplying music and stuff for you. So make sure the big tip is read the application guide carefully yourself, not rely on mom and dad or some teacher to tell you what it basically says. If you miss something and you come up short in the interview, I would really hate for you to put all that work in and to overlook something that you're supposed to read and then not have either the music force or not have whatever the requirements are because you didn't read it. So I would really hate that for you because there are so many very talented students coming in, and I know they probably would have had a much better shot at getting in. And it is competitive, just to let you know. GSA is competitive. We only have one program and we have so many slots and there's a lot of applicants. So there might be a kind of a thing going around now. It's like there's so many slots, we got lots and lots of room and stuff like that. But GSA is not two programs, it's just one program, and that's very competitive. So to keep that in mind. So it's very, very important for you to follow the directions and just do your best. And I think you'll do a great job, but read it.
That's it. That's it. All right, so we are at the point in the webinar to where we are open for questions. We're checking out the chat now if there's any questions and so we can provide some answers or anything in the chat itself. And while we're kind of waiting on a few questions, if there are any questions, if you could put in the chat exactly where you're from so we
Mhm.
know where in the state you are hailing from, that would be phenomenal. Hey, we have some Western Kentucky in the room, Paducah, Murray. Henry Clay High School. Okay, Lexington.
All right. That's where my son went, Henry Clay High School.
Is it Ronnieville, North Hardin High,
Yeah.
Pulaski County? Another Lexington. Hey, we have a question. While those towns are coming in, the counties are coming in, how many violas on average do you usually accept?
That's a good question because I don't know if this is stated in the literature, but there is not a set number of instruments that we do in instrumental music. So there is not a like Allstate, you have certain music picked out, and if they need two oboes, they're going to find two oboes. As long as there's two oboes auditioning, they're going to be picked. But for us, we do not have any instrumentation specifications. We determine our music based on the student applications. So if we take one or two or maybe four or five of that instrument, we will figure out literature that fits it. We're trying to find the students who, like I said, as far like I said, it's very competitive. So we're looking for the top, whatever our number it is. If it's 50, 45, whatever our number is, we're looking for the top number of those instruments. Of course, we would like to have a nice variety and a balance of sections, but there is not a quota. So, specifically to answer your question, there is not a viola quota. We have had one, we have had two, we have had three, we have had none. So, have they auditioned? Yes. One year we had lots of clarinet auditions, but no clarinets were selected that summer. One year we had lots of oboes audition, or even tubas or cellos. I can name lots of years. They auditioned, but they were not taken. So what do we do without an oboe, without a bassoon? We figure it out. We find literature that is used without them. Allstate, they got their literature picked out and they need that cello player and they're going to put them in there. But with us, if we don't get the cellos or the applicants that score significantly high to match with everybody because it's chamber music, we will just not use that instrument that year. So it's important for everybody to understand that. And like I said, specifically, if you want to know how many any instrument, it would be the same answer for viola for any other instrument. Now, if you want to know what we typically have taken, I guess on the average, it's one or two. That's what's been the average over the years. But it has been zero and it has been sometimes three.
All
But
right.
I've never seen six or 10. We have had six violins. I think we've had six saxophones and stuff like that. But I think
Wow.
six is probably the highest number of any one instrument. Now, percussion, there are usually four, five, six, seven, or eight percussion as far as that. And they're playing multiple instruments. But as far as any single instrument, I cannot remember a year that had more than six of a single instrument. And like I said, average is going to be, two or three, maybe four for some instruments. But there are many years that have been zero, and they did apply, but we just did not select them. Good question.
We have another question in the chat. Are trumpet mutes allowed for the solo performance?
Yes, they are. In fact, they're encouraged if it says to use that mute. If it says to use a straight mute or cup mute, then it's probably good to. Now, if you're just asking to put a mute in just for the fun of it and it's not written, then you probably should not do that. We'd rather hear your open sound. But if the music calls for the mute, then definitely use the mute.
All right. Kind of saving some time, a little bit more space for additional questions.
Okay.
We are truly excited about this upcoming summer. Everyone will be at Northern Kentucky University. It's a new campus for the Governor's School for the Arts. The Governor's School for the Arts has not been outside of Central Kentucky in quite a few years. We've been at the University of Kentucky, we've been at Center College, we've been at Transylvania, we've been at Bellarmine.
Mhm.
I feel like there was a year we were at Spalding
Yeah, we're Spalding 2 years.
for 2 years, surprisingly,
Years.
here in Louisville. But this
Yeah.
is the first time that we are actually heading north to Norse country.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody asked us, can we please go over the sight reading again? What type of pieces for each
For sight reading?
for sight
Okay.
reading?
So there are two types of sight reading. One is just a rhythm. So if you can picture, say, four measures of rhythms in, say, 4/4 time, quarter, quarter, a couple eighths, dotted quarter eighths, so you're going dum, ba, 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 stuff like that. We just want to see if you can look at rhythms and play the rhythms in time. And that's for all instruments: percussion, winds, brass, strings, piano. Everybody plays just a single line of rhythm just to see if you can. We're separating the rhythmic out because the rhythmic element is very important for chamber music because you are again on your own. We teach you, we coach you. We're there with you. We don't just put you in a room and leave. So we coach you, but we are not conducting you. So it's important for you to understand that if you add an extra beat or take away a beat, then you are lost and your group falls apart. If you're in a band and you fall apart and you get lost or like that, the band keeps going on because there's conductors out there, they're yelling out measure numbers and stuff like that, and everybody else is going on. But if it's just four of you in a room and one of you gets off, then it's important. So that's why probably more information than you wanted, but that's why the rhythmic component is very, very important. So we just want to isolate that and see if you can just read rhythms. And then the second thing is a typical sight reading where we give you again something that is 30 seconds long, which could be, depending on a tempo, that's not really super fast. several measures long, say 16 bars or something like that, and you get 30 seconds to practice it on your instrument. And of course, it's going to have pitches and rhythms in it, just like any other sight reading piece that you do. So those are the two types of sight reading. And one just to let us know if you can just do rhythms, and the other rhythms in the context of melodies and articulation and that kind of thing.
Excellent.
Hope that answered that. And like I said, just do your best on the sight reading. You can practice it, and you should practice sight reading every day. That's what when I teach lessons, that's what I tell everybody. Even if you're not preparing for an upcoming audition, say you're not doing GSA and you have nothing on the tables for months on end. You're like, well, I don't need to practice sight reading because we're not auditioning for anything. And I would beg to differ. I'd say, yes, you do. That should be a daily part of what you do. Everybody does their scales and their lip slurs or whatever your instruments are, rudiments and stuff like that. And every single instrumentalist should put sight reading in. Whether you're pianist, percussionist, string, woodwinds, brass, everybody should do sight reading every single day, even if it's a small, tiny amount.
Listen, sight reading and scales, arpeggios are like
Mhm.
vitamins and supplements. You have
That's
to
right.
have them
Yeah,
every day. It makes the difference between a good musician to a great
that's right.
musician. The
And
fundamentals make a difference.
fundamentals. And people, a lot of times students are like, why are you torturing me with scales just because your teachers did it? Is that why you have to do it? And I want to say, except for those very strange, I don't want to say strange, but those very atypical 20th century pieces where you just might, some of you had fun doing this, where you're just blowing air in your instrument and moving your keypads and they want to make different sounds and you're just stomping on the floor and that's part of the music. There is probably nothing in your folders that I couldn't tell you what kind of scale or chord it is. So that's why the scales and chords are so important, even though we just have you do scales, is because that's all what your music is made up of. It's all made up of scales. And so if you have those fundamentals down, then learning new music won't be like starting over again each time. So all your music is made up of scales.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Bird, I think that is all of our questions.
All right.
I don't see any more.
That
You
sounds good.
all, listen, at the end of this process, please remember you are an artist regardless of this journey and this process of auditioning. The auditioning process is really meant to kind of mimic what it's going to look like if you decide to go into college, right? Or once you go into college and you're going out into the real world, it's going to mimic these audition processes and things that folks do all day, every day to audition for different groups and ensembles. And so please know that you are an artist. Your art is your art, and we love every last bit of it. Please stay encouraged throughout the process. If there are any questions about this process, please go to our website at KentuckyGSA.org or email us at gsainfo at kentuckyperformingarts.org, and we will answer back to you within a 12 to 24-hour period, guaranteed. Dr. Byrd, thank you once again for allowing us to take up a little bit of your time to talk
Oh,
about the applicant guide process
you're
and
welcome.
the application process in and of itself. You all, you're talking to the person who's taken a look at probably almost every single instrumental music applicant guide on Accepted. So
That's right.
thank you again.
Can
And
I also mention one last thing is
yeah,
that I want to encourage everyone to apply as a sophomore, regardless if you think you're ready or not. This is another big, huge mistake that students do. They say, well, my teacher says you're not ready yet. My parents say, or my mentor says, you're not quite ready yet. I've seen GSA kids. I've heard them. They come back to our school. You're not playing at their level, so you shouldn't audition. And that's not good advice. You should audition. You should practice and trying to get up there, but don't eliminate yourself and say, well, I am not at the quality of other people, so I'm not going to audition this year. I'm going to wait till my junior year. Because at the very least, it gives you a chance to go through the process and experience that, to put together a tape, to come and do a live audition. Even if you know you're not quite at the level some of your friends are, you want to go through that whole experience so that when you actually do it the next year and you feel you're ready for it, you'll have been there and done that because so many people do that make a mistake and they didn't audition the prior year and it's all new to them. And so they probably wished they would have gone through that experience. So
Yeah,
definitely, I encourage you all to apply.
absolutely. Apply, apply, apply. Well, thank you all. We will see all of you in accepted come January the 18th. I will say that again. We will see every last one of you all in the accepted portal January the 18th. Do not let that creep up on you. Start now. Start now. Every year we have about 200 folks who just don't finish their application. Start now. We want to see you. We want to see you in the application pool and on the road to final round audition. So thank you again, everyone, for allowing us to share space with you on a Monday evening. Dr. Byrd, thank you, my friend, and we will see everyone in the coming months.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.